Welcome to the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Join your hosts, three-time WBFF world champions and WBFF royalty, Alicia Gowans and Stephanie Ayala McHugh, as we explore all things female health, training, competing, mindset, and living the fitness life every day.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the latest edition of Queen Divas podcast with the beautiful Stephanie Ayala McHugh and myself.
Hello, everyone. And so is my beautiful Alicia Gowans. I mean, she's always radiating. Right now, she's actually glowing. How far are you, Ali? Let's actually get a
We
quick
have
update.
9 weeks and 5 days to go, but who's counting?
I wanted to know that. Okay, that's so close. I'm so excited. But
So good. And then look, we've got the myriad of new I wouldn't say issues because they're not issues, but the changes in the body happening in the third trimester. So you do transition away from having all these boundless levels of energy to being dips and flows of energy and then nothing, because he's taking so much more out of me now. So this is the stage where they grow the most too. So I mean, he's quite big anyway. He's like he'd be already about 37 centimeters long, but he will get maybe, I don't know, close 55 centimeters or something before we give birth. So that's a lot of growth when you think about it's taken this amount of time to get to that point. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty cool, but it's like
you're getting sucked dry right now.
I so am. And I'm just trying to eat all the food so that he has what he needs and he's not taking it out of me, because I don't want to lose my muscle or as much as I can keep. I'm trying to keep, obviously, because we're moving straight into prep after. So I'm trying to eat all this food, babe. Like I literally increased my food by another 300 calories and I was already up really high. But we increased them by another 300 calories on
yes.
And your stomach is being pushed up into your throat, quite literally. So, and your digestion slows. So you know how hard it is to eat a really high calorie diet, even when you don't have those issues. When you got those issues, it's just like, I'm constantly full. I feel like a big bodybuilding dude that's just trying to smash chicken and rice. Like it feels like that, where they're force feeding themselves to grow their biceps. Well, I feel like that.
Just think, eat all the foods, keep muscle. Just like we always think, right? Like we got to keep thinking of like the outcome, not just how we feel in the moment.
That's
which is
exactly
one of the things that we need to really do during prep, or even during like a surplus phase in your situations. The outcome is more important of how we temporarily feel. I mean, we're temporarily feeling what we feel. I mean, I feel a type of way right now too.
I actually love your physique right now. And we're going to get into that because what the topic of today's conversation is a really, I think it's really cool because we've not seen Steph this far into a prep have something that's kind of like derailed her probably quite as much as this. But at the same time, what I love, because I would expect nothing freaking less from Stephanie, she's a true champion. Like she hasn't stopped. It's not preventing her from the goal. She is moving forward. It looks a little different temporarily, but I love seeing her in gowns with moon boots. I mean, my God.
My God, let me tell you, what a freaking new experience and new realm of just things I've had to do these last couple weeks. So a couple weeks ago, I actually, to catch everybody up, I was randomly, look guys, I was not doing anything abrupt or anything not out of the ordinary, right? Like, and I just started feeling, this has been actually quite a while. I've always felt like some type of pain in my foot, but it was never big enough for me to get it seen. I just always thought it was just maybe from higher impact, exercises that I would be doing. And I would always kind of like back off. But just recently, like it started getting to a point where obviously I started really feeling sharper pain. And this 2 weeks ago, I actually ended up having an episode where I had just finished doing a check-in in heels. So those women that actually understand wearing heels all the time, because it's actually a very common injury that's called, more of a stress fracture, just from wear and tear, right? Like if you wear heels a lot, not in my situation, it's not like I wore heels that much, but I do wear them, so for long periods of time on top of that. So I then went straight into cardio, just my regular routine at an incline walk, and just imagine my feet are just constantly under that pressure. And this is when I felt that initiation of like, I really was somewhat scared because I thought I had broken my foot, because after, it wasn't during cardio. Actually, I ended up finishing cardio. I felt fine. I went about my day. I went on, with, training some clients. I, did some Skype calls. I did some posing sessions. And then I went straight to the gym to do my workout. This is my normal day. Okay. So I go obviously into the gym. This day I did not have legs assigned. So I'm very particular of the shoe selection I have for my leg days. And because I didn't select actually a hard surface, or insole shoe, I ended up having like those, memory foam type of, shoe. They're very comfortable. You feel like you're in the air. So like a sock. And I ended up wearing that type of shoe just to go do, I remember it was shoulders. So as I'm doing my upper body, I'm about to do like some just light, cardio to finish off. And I just feel this shift in my foot. And you actually feel like it completely, the toe, because it's about like the third or fourth metatarsal that I ended up having the stress at, so it was a big shift, and that shift, you're like, wait, that's like not okay. I go and you sit down. I didn't really think anything. I just get off my feet. The next couple of days, walking starts hurting, like to a point where you can't put pressure. After 2 days in, I'm like, all right, Steph, like you definitely have to be seen. Like, but it's the weekend. So here comes the weekend and I can't see anybody unless I like go to the emergency room. And it's not an emergency like that. And I'm the last person to go to an emergency room unless I'm having like a heart attack. And that wasn't the case. So, or unless I like really, really had a big injury or I was in an accident like that and I didn't feel the need. So I wait all the way till Monday. By the time Monday comes around, I really couldn't walk. I actually had to go get crutches because I couldn't even get from my room, from the office to the kitchen just to do normal day-to-day things. And I'm like, well, I don't want to. Now I'm thinking it's broken. So I'm going to make sure I precaution, everything, just make sure I don't actually injure myself further. So I get in to see the doctor Monday morning. I get some x-rays, get told, obviously, we're good. It's not broken. It's not fully, to a place where you should worry. We need to just kind of, make sure you're not putting all the pressure on your feet. Let's put it in a boot. Because obviously you can't really put pressure on it anyways. I had honestly tore up my Achilles. You should see my calves are on fire. Like it's just from the over use of my right leg now at this point, from like just at the height difference from having the boot on from like the whole time. But I will say, the boot felt so much better as a replacement from the crutches. I was
100%. Your armpits ache, ache, whereas with the moon boot you can actually sort of normally function a bit and you can still get into the gym and do things.
Exactly. I felt like it was just a big like good transition. I'm like, please God, I have to leave to this trip. We're going to this Orlando show. This all happened the weekend before. I'm leaving, obviously in like a couple days. I gotta get this figured out, doc. Like you gotta, what is it? It's something I can work, because I'll fight through the pain. I was like, can I put heels on? I'm like, can I?
You can't.
And then he's like, no, really, that's at this point, you just need to let it rest. It's a stress reaction at this point where you just need to let it heal. We'll come back if it's obviously still hurting, it's still causing these issues. And if that is the case, then we obviously have to stay off of it longer. But I'm feeling so good at this point.
What's good though is that it happened now. It's not
exactly what I
close at a stage. And I don't know if you even know that this happened to me. I've talked about this in another podcast interview I think I did ages ago. I trained for my very first show, which was years before I actually finally got on stage. And this is really relevant to what Steph was talking about with being, a common thing. If you're in heels a lot, you got to remember I come from a ballerina background. So I did a lot of point work, on toes, like dance stuff. So I had all of that for many years. And then I went into corporate and I was a full-fledged workaholic in corporate in heels all the time. Now, my very first comp prep was in 2008, I think it was. I got all the way through. I was looking diced. I was ready to go. I was also, though, ironically, training for the Kokoda, which is a 99-kilometer continuous trek, right? So I was doing these 8-hour-long hikes with water packs and packs on my back at the same time as prepping in a deficit. Now, look, knowing everything I know now, I would have timed my Kokoda stuff at a separate time of the year and done this a little smarter. But I got a stress fracture. I got a stress fracture in my foot. It's very similar to what you've got. My foot ballooned up. I couldn't walk. I couldn't put any weight on it. I was
nothing about it. Yeah.
4 weeks from stage, and I could not put heels on. I was on crutches and in a moon boot. I didn't get to the stage that year. I couldn't do it because it was too close to my show.
Yeah, that's like a same perfect storm situation that you just mentioned, right? Like all the things that you just brought up, like the stress that's put on that front of the foot, it is not made for us to be able to put all of our body weight in all of it, obviously multiple, hours. And just for me, it was, I jump a lot. I mean, this is just from my dancing. I sprint. I mean, for me, you see me, Ali, we've trained together. Like it's one of those things that for me, I love it. Like it's agility and fast feet and on your toes. Like that's where my sports background, like growing up doing sports, I mean, that was my jam. Like that's what we would do. And afterwards I would always kind of incorporate into my actual training similar drills. And obviously the wear and tear has caught up to me. I know a lot of dancers can relate to this, beginning you too, because of having to be on your toes or having to jumping a lot and having that impact, whether if it's on your heel or your toe. It's not that it's just one toe, it's like literally the forefront of your feet, so that I was starting to put, all my pressure on my back, which is on my Achilles, started just completely having horrible pain. So I couldn't walk at that point. So after that second day, going in the third day, my Achilles was just torn the hell out, to where because I was putting all of it on my back foot because I knew it was on the forefront of the foot that was having that pressure. So that's when I just knew the crutches were needed. We got that, it was a little temporary solution. And I'm like, God, this is horrible. I commend anyone that has had to be in crutches for like weeks, multiple months. Like I bowed down to you. That was some tough shit. Like my forearms, my wrists were starting to hurt because of how much pressure. I'm like, I feel like a gymnast. I feel like I'm like literally just holding myself on, a rail, like doing these, obviously dips, chest dips, and like,
I just always hate the feeling, like the pain in your underarm. Like it's
well, that's why horrible. I was starting to overcompensate in my wrist because I would just rather just be locked out like a plank, right? Or my wrist. I'm like, no, my armpits hurt. But so anyway, I commend anyone that's either in crutches, has to deal with them, or is just dealing through any injuries. Like it's just, I think, a big realization for all of us when we do get injured, how just gracious and like it is to be able to walk. And I should be so grateful at everything. Like when I got my back injury, just let's say 2 months ago, it was one of those aha moments too for me that I was like, shit, I can't really do a lot. But now the foot, like you can't walk to the kitchen. I mean, that really
can't go get your food, Steph.
I can't go get my food or go to the bathroom. I mean, when I was in the middle of the night searching for a crutch to go to the bathroom to pee, I was just that's one of the moments that I'm like, I honestly wanted to break down. That was for sure one of those moments. But that's when you honestly come to the realization too, that I'm like, am I going to use this as a victimology, right? Like type of story? Am I going to sit here and feel sorry for myself? There's so many worse scenarios for other people that literally have lost a leg or have just been able to, obviously say I'm not paralyzed and I'm able to slowly pick myself back up through, this ability to walk. Like I should be very, very, grateful that I'm still not with a broken foot. I'm going to recover. So it's like switching the story. Stop trying to tell myself like this is something that's going to stop me. If anything, it's a challenge that we have to overcome and it's going to be different. I'm more excited about knowing I'm going to become better just as a coach, as a competitor, to be able to learn from this whole experience, because I'm taking it as a new experience. I know this prep is going to be completely different from every other prep I've ever had, because I've never had this many injuries leading into any prep, number one. So I know the longer prep approach actually ended up being so needed, like what if I would have started prep at, 12
Yep.
weeks out, like normal people, or I won't say normal people, but most people that decide like it's just a 12-week prep, or like those that are just announcing, hey, it's 6 weeks, 16 weeks out, like I'm starting prep. If I would have just started now and I would have had this, maybe I wouldn't have probably considered it, right? My mindset would have been different. I would have been like, maybe this year's not the smartest time to compete, right? Like I'm injured, but no, I was committed. I was already in it, and I'm not going to let this, derail me from my focus.
We've seen time and again what's possible despite having many limitations. I mean, from my journey,
Your journey is an inspiration for sure.
I'm just a massive believer that no matter what it is that's going on, if you've got the right specialist team, right advice, and the right mindset, you can set yourself up for even better success. And I love what you said about the fact that it changes the scope of the journey. And I'm honestly a massive believer in the timing of everything is actually exactly as the timing is meant to be. So for me, when it happened to me that year, and I was like so ready for the stage, and then it wasn't going to happen, I didn't become like this big mess about it. And I didn't become like, oh, I'm throwing my hands in the air and I'm such a victim, or, like I'm never going to do it again. I didn't do any of that. I walked away and went, right, let's go heal. I'm going to pivot. I'm not getting on a stage because it didn't work with my time commitments with work. Again,
your body told you no. On top of that, we had to learn something about this whole situation, right? Like
you do.
And in this, I'm like, what can I learn from this? How am I going to, what are my takeaways? What am I actually going to be able to grow from in this whole situation? And I know there's so much to grow from, and that's what excites me. I'm like, look, I know there's a way, like, it's not broken. So if I make the excuse of it thinking like, oh, I only have 8 weeks left during the prep. That's not the scenario. Like if I really break it down, if I heal within 4 weeks, right? Like if I'm 100% back, of course I'm not going to be to my 100% to where I would.
No, but capable of walking at least.
Capable to be able to do what I'm needed to do, And I think.
Having said that, everyone listening to this, if you haven't been watching, Steph is walking into the gym on a fucking moon boot and still training and doing legs in equipment rather than on a, flat-footed or weight-bearing situation. She's still activating stuff. She's still training. Like
you can still make your muscles work. Look, you're gonna find a way. You're gonna find a way to be able to if you have good mind to muscle connection. I'm a true big believer that you can make your muscles work by isolating them and isometrically holding them in place in that isometric position, right? Like if we actually get them to be contracted, we can get blood flow in them. That's all that's really needed. If you're eating right, we're still getting the muscles to work. We're not going to be maybe optimizing the growing phase or optimizing a cut, but we're still moving. It makes us feel so much better. And guess what? We're moving the needle. We're not just staying in place. So that's progressing.
It might be at the rate that it would have been prior, but at the same point in time, you have the blessing of the fact that you're so far ahead anyway, that it's not going to be detrimental to you. And it'd only be detrimental if you mentally let it mess with you. And I know that you are not that woman. So I think it's really good for everyone to see this. And the fact that, she's not for 1 second gone, it's not going to happen for me. She's just gone, oh shit, here we go. I'm going to have to sidestep. I have to now do bloody machines I wouldn't normally use.
I'm not gonna lie, but they work. So anyone that's listening, please, if you have an injury, there's gonna be a chest supported, back supported, hip supported, some type of stable machine that you're most likely gonna be able to do. Just keep using that. It does not matter if you hit that, let's say every 2-3 times a week, as long as you're constantly getting yourself moving to your ability, whatever your injury is. If you have a low back injury, a knee injury, obviously a foot injury, and like my situation, obviously staying off of your feet and stability is going to be most likely one of your biggest keys here in seated exercises and functional machines. That's what they're there for. They're there for beginners to actually be able to learn how to, pull the exercise, push the exercise, engage those muscles. The leverages are there to help you, obviously better engage your range. If you obviously have longer tendons, if you obviously have longer ligaments, you want to make sure that is obviously taken care of. I think that's one of the biggest struggles with machines that I see from person to person. They just really don't know how to adjust the machine for their body. But as long as you're able to move, you know, and get blood flow into the muscle, get to actually work in the muscle groups that aren't affected. Don't play victim and say, oh, poor me, let me stay home until I heal. The doctor said stay away for 4 weeks. Well, that's what they said to me, but I'm not going to stay away for 4 weeks. That's crazy. Like, that is stupid, because I know I have the ability to actually move. Yeah, absolutely. They're not the trainers here. You can go to your coach, you can go to your trainer, you can actually tell them, this is my injury. If they can't work around an injury, they're probably not a good specialized coach, I'll be honest, because you can really work around most injuries unless you just cannot, and I mean this, cannot do, let's say, for example, like walking, I think is pretty big, but I even see my wheelchair people like in the gym, we could do upper body. But there's certain limitations, I think, like spine, or like Allie's particular injury when her back was broken, like that's like real. You cannot really do much until you get cleared. But unless you have a severe accident, like a car accident or a back break, you're gonna be able to work around it, guys. Like, don't, the shoulder injury, I mean, come on, I know, I get it. Shoulders are a big, important part of your journey, but is it really that big for you to stop training everything? Like, no. Absolutely everything, your one shoulder, or your maybe like left trap. Like, I'm just being honest, like that just makes no sense to me. You can work around it, you know? So for me, it's a challenge, and I'm here for it.
Injuries are so common, and, you know, it's something that can happen from overload. It's something that can happen from a completely new stimulus where it's just, you know, completely foreign to the body. If you've got, you know, dominance that is undetected, and there's, you know, imbalances or structural, you know, deficiencies, then there's all these things that can have compounding effect that lead to an injury. So injuries are, you know, the thing that as a coach, you always try to prevent them, sure, but you don't ever believe for a second that they're not going to happen, or that it's not a, you know, not a potential likelihood, because it is. And all the best of the best that I know have had some pretty bloody major ones, right? And it's literally how you mentally, you know, like prep yourself once you've been diagnosed or it's happened. And I think, you know, the key take home is, rather than thinking about all the things you can't do, you start looking at what you can do. What is accessible to me? What can I, you know, what can I achieve? What is my goal or my objective? And in, you know, Steph's case, it's stage. Well, okay, what are the areas I need to focus on for that? And she'll have her checklist. And then it's like, okay, well, great. I can't weight bear. I can't, you know, plyometric. I can't Metcon train, but I can, though, keep everything activated, firing, recruited. I can still elicit hypertrophy. I can still maintain my muscle mass if I'm going to start the deficit now, or I can be potentially recombing if I stay close to maintenance right now while I'm healing. You know, she has these opportunities there, and it's not a case of, hey, busted myself, I'm checked out. She's like straight away going, fuck, moon boots are really inconvenient, but oh well, I'm gonna make it look fashionable.
It doesn't match my clothes, goddammit. Like, it fucked up my whole wardrobe at the whole show. I was so upset. Ali, like, this is what messed me up mentally for a couple hours. I was really, really mad at the aspect that I like had everything set up, and I felt so organized. I felt so like good about all my outfits and everything I had put together. And here comes the stupid injury messing up my outfits. I was livid while I was packing. It just kind of like got reminded to me, because I got over it, and then I started packing, and it just kind of like refueled the whole fire of being mad at the boot again. And I was like, but then you don't have the crutches, so I just keep reminding myself, like, but at least the boot.
Yeah, crutches would be way worse fashion faux pas. I just worry about the boot.
For as much walking you have to do, like inside those hotels and like just at the events. So the boot was a savior, you know, for that whole time. But I look forward to, you know, obviously making this whole thing an actual story for people to look at, you know, and a testimony for people to, you know, think of as, you know, overcoming any injury. Like, I went through the back injury that I felt like mentally that one truly almost took me out from the prep, because I felt like I'm not gonna be able to squat. I'm not gonna be able to deadlift. Like, these are the bigger things that I need to do during prep.
Hey, I could have given you a laundry list of the alternatives that could still get
Oh, look,
that gets
of
around.
I know. And see,
Sure.
that's the negative voice. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, we're always going to have that negative voice that tells us what we can't do. And you said it beautifully. We have to focus on what we can do. And
Hey,
there's
babe,
so much we can do.
I just thought about this randomly, but have you thought about the electromagnetic, like getting your actual
Yes,
the,
yes, the new X, the new whatever it's called. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So yes, that's actually one of the things. So I'm focusing on recovery. So my biggest thing right now as a goal is to heal. So yes, I'm itching, I'm getting back in the gym, I'm trying to move, but I'm being very smart. I don't recommend anyone to do maybe some of the things that you'll see me do, because I will be honest, I know my body very, very well. I'm very in tune with what's going on and how I feel when I'm doing certain movements, mind to muscle, obviously just the physiology and the anatomy of my body as well. So I'm going to probably do things way sooner than what most people would I would recommend or would do. So yes, recovery is my main goal, getting a lot of soft tissue, obviously therapy, as well as doing the, like the electromagnetic type of new.
I've got the kit at home, and I used to use it when I was through periods where I just couldn't load. I would use them literally just as impulses to actually fire the muscle.
Yeah.
So, being able to sit and have it on your quads, or sit or lay down and have it on your hamstrings while you're working. Like, I legitimately used to do that. I lay on the floor and have it all across my hamstrings and my glutes.
Yeah, so it's going to help us obviously cell regenerate, and obviously make sure that the healing process speeds up a bit. I am going to start trying to actually get seen more frequently from my physio. So all of that's going to help making sure that I do lead a very, very healthy recovery, and then start being able to see how much I can weight bear here in these next, obviously, few days, because I feel so much better actually walking. Before it was painful to actually walk, and now it's at the point where I'm not having pain walking. So hopefully it is more of just the reaction that I'm having rather than the actual, full on fracture. So that's kind of still like
mine was a full fracture, and I literally was out of action and when I say out of action, I was like you, I was still at the gym, I was going in my moon boot, I was just modifying what I was doing. But as in, I couldn't do my hiking, I couldn't do
for sure
for 12 weeks. And even then I had to go to a smaller heel, and I only wore them when I had to go into a meeting, but I would have my slides in my handbag and I'd swap them right before I walked into the meeting. And then you'd sit down, so you didn't have to be on your feet for too long. One other thing that I noticed for me personally too was, I did notice when you talked about the shift in the foot, 100% you feel that. I did notice that one never felt quite as stable as the other for a couple of years. It took a couple of years. And also what I also found was my stability for gripping and yielding in squats was compromised for a little bit. And also I noticed it in my lunges. So when I was doing lunging.
It's so funny. Oh my God, you said all of that. I noticed it today. I noticed that same exact thing today when I was doing even just a simple stability movement. Just trying to test it. I'm like, shit, like I can feel the shift. Like, and and you can just feel that imbalance even more from the actual toe section, right? Like just right the top of the foot. And it's crazy because your body so well when you feel these small little things. Like, again, you're in tune with yourself, and anyone that knows you're already at verge of, obviously having some of any of these symptoms, like you need to stay off and away from the things that causing it. Like for me, it was the jumping and the dancing and the plyometrics and obviously the actual so much jumping. I mean jumping a lot, but I mean also actual.
For anyone listening that doesn't know, Steph is really big in plyometrics and Metcon style training. So she does a lot of this. It's like
It's
100%.
been years. Wear and tear. I do a lot of sprints. I do I would run my Brutus, my dog, and he just freaking tears me apart, and we just sprint our asses off. So it's just a constant, I mean, again, just impact on my foot. And being the fact that, like Ali mentioned, most of the times you get these injuries because of having imbalances in your body. My left side is shorter than my right. I have, a little tilt and shift in my hips. So my left side actually normally has a lot of those imbalances. My right gets a lot of the impact, but my left overcompensates because it is a lot shorter. So it tries to kind of make up for, of course, making the right a lot higher, right? So yeah, and because of that, years and years, no matter where you are in your training journey, this could happen at the beginning, at the end. Like, I've not had this many injuries until like this last year. This last year I've had probably my worst and hardest ones, and it's been a decade over of just constant, of course, weight training, plyometric work, of course, like high intensity, cardio.
The cumulative effect of all of the years, right? And also too, if we look at this, from another parameter too, you've had sort of 2 or probably close to 3 years where you haven't had a proper real big off season either. And we talked about this in one of our last episodes. And for all of our listeners, this is really important because what that does when you're in that constantly lower state of caloric input, you actually do start to compromise things like your bone mineral density. You actually have a higher increased risk of injury. There is a direct link. There's evidence and literature to support a direct link between sustained long-term low energy diets linked to back injuries and back pain. So, it's one of those things where you kind of go, hey, that may have contributed along with the cumulative effect of the overload. So when we look at her allostatic load and her energy,
it was the perfect storm. It was because I said, I had started dropping my calories and also increased my intensity into my training. And it was the perfect storm. Again, like I was explaining, I was doing my check-in. I went straight into cardio. I went straight into my training. All of this was just the perfect storm when I had just dropped my calories from, obviously trying to tighten up. I already knew I was going to Orlando, and I was going to do a little bit more and I was going to back off a little bit. I had already had a strategy, to do that from Orlando.
Cut a little bit for Orlando, then come back up before you come back. Yeah.
That was what was my, my plan was, but because of what ended up happening, I needed to immediately bring myself back up to maintenance to be able to recover. I need to heal. I'm not going to put myself above into surplus, but I am definitely staying in maintenance until I heal fully, and then I'll be able to resume.
If I'm really honest with you, I think the timing of this is perfect. I think it's forcing you to do prep in the way that's going to give you the best freaking stage outcome. Like, absolutely. I'm telling you.
Blessing in disguise. We'll put it that way.
Yes,
right now,
I think so. I'm pumped for this because I've been watching your physique in the last couple of months since you've stepped into this actual unbridled, I'm actually growing phase, which I haven't seen you do for a few years. Man, I tell you what, I don't know how Kerry keeps his hands off you. I would have impregnated you a few times over by now. I'm just saying.
Scare, right? Like, what if you get pregnant during a prep? Like, like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, that's something that even came through my head. I'm like, what if I end up getting pregnant during a prep? Oh my God, Stephanie.
Definitely horrible.
No, but look, I don't honestly, like, what's crazy when you think about coming down from the slope, from your biggest climax of the build, like you said, it was my first full-on build in quite a while since, actually.
You look so good for it, babe. Every time I see one of your pictures now, I'm like, God damn, she's just like you. And what I love about it,
definitely thick.
Progress. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, man, I get to the point where I'm like, you can't possibly get any better, for fuck's sake. Honestly,
shut up.
Not possible. And then you actually do a growing phase, and I'm like, man,
I did feel good in my build. I'm not gonna lie, I felt good. I felt like it was one of my better ones, because I actually went into it, and I took feedback. I think going back to even like just the competitor state, we always want something different than sometimes the federation, is looking for. So sometimes that's kind of like another reality we have to come to terms with,
and where you're going from a development point of view, that you don't out categorize yourself. But
right.
I don't think you have
felt
that.
good. I felt good this time around. I'm like, you know what? I'm able to go harder. I'm able to go back to my same mentality of training, you know, a little bit more with intensity, but look at kind of like where that ended up, because I guess, you know, obviously my body was like, whoa, girl, you need to chill the fuck out. And, you know, obviously this is happening to you. You know, these are these injuries, slow down. And I'm fine with that. You know, it's going to just really reassess the way I do the rest of the prep. And it, again, like, I think it's a beautiful thing for me to have this challenge, because it's not going to be the same. And I don't want it to be the same. And I was already trying to make the other one different. And now this one's going to be really, really different. And I hope it helps and inspires other people to be able to still work through some injuries and still be able to get through a competition or get to stage. I think another, you know, cool thing that it's backstory is that when I was actually doing that check-in in heels, it was the first time I had stepped in heels since my back injury. So it's my back injury was the first thing at the beginning of the year, right? So it was my first, and I didn't think anything about it. So guys, you should be very proud, because I did release my new YouTube channel, and it was actually for the freaking YouTube. I was trying to record for you guys a check-in, stupid damn check-in. Like, I was trying to get in these damn heels to just show you guys a physique check-in and get, you know, obviously document it, because I'm like, oh shit, I never document anything. I forget all the damn time, you know? So I was just trying to, you know, be a good girl and remember. And I was like, okay, prop up the camera real quick. And, you know, like when you bend over constantly, like on your toes, and you're, you know, kind of setting things up or grabbing something off the floor, but you don't want to fully get on the floor, right? I do that too constantly. I do that too much. Like, that's another thing when you overanalyze, how did I get this injury? Like, what the hell? You know, and I do that constantly. And I did that. I had just put on the heels. I hadn't actually put them on, like I said, in a couple months. And I do that same position to set up the camera, because I thought the angle was wrong. And I literally get back up. I go back into posing. I like strut. And again, this is all like my memory of how this all happened. And I ended up, you know, obviously taking the heels off. I thought, okay, I checked in for this, you know, thing, whatever. I go straight on to my day. And I literally realized, you know, afterwards, I'm like, it was the stupid check-in in the heels that actually did the extra impact. Yes, that completely capped it off. It really was. And like me being on my tippy toes and all of that, like, you know, trying to set up the camera. And so anyway, I look forward to sharing, I guess, maybe this check-in video with you guys. It will be, I guess, a 18-week out, I believe. Check-in, obviously we're further away now, but look, I couldn't do any of the editing. Be a little gracious on maybe getting how often I get y'all videos, but it's released, okay? It's out, so I do appreciate y'all support, y'all going. I feel like my New Year's resolution of getting it out and going at least got out there. So I hope to be able to share most of the prep there. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is like this journey. I will try to, you know, get better at that whole vlogging. It's weird, guys. All you vloggers out there, if you have any tips, please send them, because
I just forget. Like, I go through these periods where I'm real good and I capture a lot of stuff and I'm talking on my stories.
You're good, Ali. You do good at talking to the camera.
I'm like, I'm hit and miss, babe. Like, with pregnancy, it's made it even harder. Like, before I was a lot more consistent with it. Pregnancy just gives you this whole different dimension. And then I'll just be,
well, I don't have the excuse of being pregnant.
And I said to you too, we talked about this in another episode, I'm so focused in the present moment now, more so in the last year and a half than I've ever been in my whole life. And I love this new me. I love this new present state. And when you're in that state, you fucking forget. Like, you're like, oh my God, I didn't.
Is that why? Are you giving me my excuse? Because I sort of got, I love being in the present. I hate being on social media. I'm all about just being in the moment. So I guess we're both the same.
It really is. It really is. And I think, you know, look, I too am going to be more diligently focused on covering my whole prep once Bub's out and we actually are healing. So I'm going to cover like, and I'm nervous about it because it's going to be like my, you know, physical work. You should
not be nervous. You had a broken back. I mean, and came back from that. So look, your baby's not breaking your back. You're just going to have to, you know, birth them and obviously get, the journey. I think the mention, and everyone that's listening,
it's about showcase.
It's about the way you look at it. It's your journey itself. It's how we grow mentally and internally. We gain a lot of self-confidence along the way, because no matter if you're coming out of a pregnancy, you're coming out of an injury, you're going on to stage, you have to take a moment and really, really, really realize that it's about the journey. It's not about the placing. It's not about the outcome.
Definitely.
It is not. And especially for those that just came off stage and you're looking, obviously thinking of what did you do wrong? It's not about what you did wrong. You have to think of everything you did right. Look at everything you absolutely did right, and how can you get better at those things, because it's literally about the journey itself. And for me, that's what I think the most excited about. And I know that's why you're scared a little bit. You're like, oh, I'm a little scared, I'm a little fearful. So am I. I'm a little scared. There's some moments that I'm like, shit, am I actually going to be able to get leaner? Absolutely. I can fucking diet. I'm like, I can get gruesomely down and I'll be fine, but am I going to like it? Hell no, I'm not going to like it. I'm going to be pissed, but it's fine. Like, that's just an excuse. It's going to be an excuse of, can I do it or can I not do it? Let's just prove it. Right.
I think with me, the nerves are more that it's a completely, new state. I've never had a C-section before. I am coming from a completely different starting point, that, there's a myriad of very different challenges that I'll face. But me, I'm a dog with a bone, let me at it. But what I do think too, and this is some really cool and really interesting research that I've been head down, bum up in more recently, and it's looking at what actually drives success more. And it's it's all neuroscience, and it's basically working on the way that the brain functions. And the things that actually elicit greater success responses, it would surprise you, is not when you envision yourself being successful and perfect in the delivery of the success. It's actually when you allow yourself to acknowledge your fear states. So when you allow yourself to go, hey, I'm nervous about this. I'm afraid.
Well, you have to acknowledge it. I agree. Exactly. I've always acknowledged that I'm about to puke before I go on stage. Yeah. Like people think it's weird that I'm like, no, I feel bad too, guys. Like, I feel horrible right now. Like, I just don't think about it. I
always think before I get on stage, for the love of God, Alicia, don't fall face, woman. Like I actually have those moments.
Yeah, so we have to acknowledge that, like that nausea or that anxiety or the nerves. I mean, it's normal. It's actually the exhilarating part, honestly.
And the other part is knowing and considering, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen if I don't get the outcome I want to? So it's actually sitting in that,
right?
Yeah. Like, so it was super fascinating. And the more I've looked into it and gone deeper into it, the more I'm actually embracing the sharing of the journey and the fears that I have around some of that exposure and public sharing, because I think it's actually going to give me my best result.
That's my struggle, honestly. I think where you just nailed, it's probably my biggest struggle is the fact that I hate, I think negativity. And for me, I feel like fear sometimes comes off as negativity. And I think my association between the two is actually what's kind of allowed me to not let myself be, open about the fears. I think because I'm always thinking like, oh,
you don't want to come across as someone who's being.
I don't want to be sad story going, damn, that girl is just like, just sad about, or not sad, but she's kind of, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm.
You don't want to ever come across like a victim with things, right? So I think that was just something super interesting, and it was something that I took away and went, okay, cool. Like, I analyzed the way I had viewed things in previous wins, and if I'm honest with you, a big driver for me was the fact that I did not want to fail because of my limitations. I wanted to use my limitations as the reason for success, and so I think part of that was being vulnerable and working through fear. And now it's just in a slightly different way now, but I'm aware of it, and I'm allowing myself to think about those things.
That's amazing.
I'm leveraging it. So Christos and I have conversations about it now, because that was one of the other things that came out of the data, was that when you're actually verbalizing it, it brings much more power and fruition to the attainment of the goal. So I was like, fuck yeah, there's something in this. So before, where I would have the conversations internally with myself, I'm now actually having them with Christos, and we're talking openly about it. And, you know, he's a really great sounding board, because he's like, man, you can do everything and anything. Like, I have no doubt
that
about your abilities.
support is so needed
Really
though.
cool
And
like
like,
that.
can I say, like, you touching on that note, I think it's really important that yes, we touch on our fears, we, you know, put them out, we're vulnerable about them, right? And I think that vulnerability is very powerful. But at the same time, how powerful is the actual self-belief? Like the
100%.
power of self-belief, I feel like, is so like
Definitely.
undermined, and we just neglect the power that it has within ourselves of actually
Right.
believing our own potential, believing that we have the capacity and, you know, obviously everything that it takes to become whatever it is that you set yourself out to, whether if that is in a competitive state, whether to be, you know, a crown holder, or if it's to be a pro, or if it's to be, you know, an entrepreneur, or, you know, obviously build your own business, whatever it is that you're a model, I don't know, whatever, cover, like it, whatever your goal is. I really believe that people undermine that they think it's a dream, and they don't actually believe that they have
the action to
ability
achieve the dream.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's all a process, but I'm just saying it starts with that self-belief and that
Absolutely.
power. It
When you
drives
go,
so far.
I can do this no matter what, right? And I guess the conversation for me, bringing that into, you know, the final part of the podcast today, is that I want to have you think about that. If you're someone like Steph that has this just a spontaneous thing happen to you, where it is changing your direction and or changing your timelines, rather than going, too hard basket, I'm just going to sit and do nothing, or rather than going, I'm going to give up on the dream or the deadline, instead think, you know, what is the thing I would worry about the most if I didn't do it? And what am I missing out on if I let go of it? And that's your fear point. Feel that, and then go and do the thing instead. You know, go
100%.
find another way to go around it, because
Yeah,
that,
I know I would be so pissed at myself if I didn't.
Oh my God, right?
I would eat me alive.
It would be like missing out on another crown. That would be the worst.
Oh, it would just eat me alive that I just quit. Our motto, we don't fucking quit. I'm being honest. We fucking fight. And like our biggest thing is I don't care. I don't care if I lose a fight. See, but I'm fighting. Okay. There doesn't matter. Exactly. It does not matter if I lose. I don't care losing. That's not like, this is the problem people actually have. They fear losing. So they fear bringing their best and losing.
Not being good enough. Yeah.
That is, yes, they think they're not good. Okay. At the end of the day, I'm going to bring what I can bring, and that's going to be my best and my abilities right now. So that, but still, anyone that thinks of self-belief, like I have belief in my own abilities. And again, I didn't start this way. I knew one day I wanted to do something and I wanted to get here. And I have someone just like you, just like Crystal's, is obviously telling you can do everything. You know, when we meet that one person, it's all it takes. Maybe someone else believing in you, and then you starting to believe in your own power. If you actually have somebody in your ear that's telling you that you have that ability and they believe in you, just do it. Because if they believe in you and they see something in you and you don't at the moment, that may be that you're fucking blind right now. Okay. And that just means you need to wake the fuck up and actually see what they're actually seeing. And if you're getting it told by multiple people and you're the ones holding yourself back, hear that. You're the one holding yourself back. You actually start having to believe in yourself. And it's crazy, the unlimited potential that we unleash once we actually start believing in our potential, our ability, and we start taking action towards these things. We actually start doing things. We don't start giving up. We actually keep going, you know, after it. Like that's really it at this point. Learning a new skill, learning whatever it is that you're trying to become. It's all experience. That's another thing that I think we also kind of forget. Along the way, we're gaining experience. So everything is a lesson. We're not losing. If I lose, I'm not actually going to lose through this journey. I'm going to gain so much, probably more from this prep of experience than any of my other preps combined. And people are going to think I'm crazy thinking that my loss is more of a freaking win in my opinion.
It is. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't see you losing. So we'll just throw that word right out the fucking window.
Look, see, and there's people like this in my corner, obviously, that I'm extremely grateful for, that, you know, support me and believe in awesome.
What I love is that it's changing the direction of the prep, because I think you're going to come in even hotter, stronger, better, harder. Like you're just going to blow the stage up. So, fractured foot or not, I think you're going to be, it's still very, 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 very impossible to beat, babe. So the reality is,
I can't wait for you to
bring a new dimension to your prep now.
I'm tired of everybody thinking that, like it's the easiest category. Oh my God.
Oh my God. No, you just wait. I'm coming back to show everyone. It is not the easy category
you're just saying, I'm like, people, are just starting to forget that that's not a fucking hard, it's a hard ass.
And do you know what? Like for me, I'm looking at it and going, I'm coming to AC, not bringing what will be my best yet, because it'll just be too soon post baby, but I'm going to bring something that will still be able to win a crown for sure. And so for me, I'm excited by that because I'm like, far out. Yeah, I'm going to do something that most people would not even attempt, but I've done it before. So I'll do it again. And I'm going to hit that AC stage. And it was my very first stage with my very first crown win. So I want to win it again.
It's special.
And then I want to go away and I want to actually bring my absolute best physique so far to the world stage next year. So that's the goal, right? Yes. And for me, I think being able to do it and show people that I can do it post the IVF process for a year, post, all of the crazy COVID lockdowns, post
no excuses.
You know what I mean? Like it won't have been easy and it's not going to be easy. I think it's going to be very challenging, but I'm up for it. And I want to bring it to be able to go, no, you know what? Don't believe that this category should be anything less than an open level physique.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I believe. That's honestly what I truly believe. This category has literally every athlete that even I've gone up against that I believe, I have utter respect for, and, I believe are high caliber in this world and have the potential of being an open. And that's exactly how I look at it. And only because the world has been closed and things are just reopening and, things are just starting to get better. And, I'm so excited for Australia to be able to come.
Oh my God.
Hopefully we see some Australians in Bahamas. Hopefully we see some Australians at Worlds. I've heard of several Australians at Worlds.
Definitely got a good lineup of pros coming for Worlds and ones that I'm excited for. I can't wait to be there because it's just going to be so great to see the first like proper real world since COVID, where we've got every country having a representation, because that's what Worlds is about. It's bringing every single flavor, shape, ethnicity. I love that vibe and I love the energy and I love the differences.
You can make it.
What we see in the top 10.
Right? It's amazing. Ready for you to be able to come to the States. So
I can't wait. I can't wait.
It's going to be the best present. So if you can make it,
we're definitely coming. We're definitely coming. Bobby will have his first lot of vaccinations 2 days before we fly out, and we'll get in there on registration day. So
oh my gosh,
we'll be exactly
the best
when we land.
So it's on. Obviously, we're going to be there. We hope to see or meet any of the people that are listening to this podcast. If you can make it to Vegas, you will see Ali and I both there. We will be there, so you can come and do a little mini. There'll be a red carpet. Y'all can come take some pictures.
Yeah, I have to actually try to think about what the hell I might be able to wear, because I'll still be recovering. Like, I don't even think
you will be able to put. You looked stunning at the show these couple weeks ago. You glowed, looked so good on stage. I was looking at all the pictures. I was already just itching for the show to happen here in the States. Once I saw the Australia show go off, everyone looked absolutely stunning. You, especially with the freaking belly, I was like, I can't with Alicia in this freaking belly. She's so cute. So I'm just pumped for the Australians to be able to come, for the world that's opening up. I'm really, really pumped for, obviously this prep, for it to be just a journey. I know it's, like you said, it's more a mental battle. It's things that we just have to overcome. And I hope to take you guys along, during this,
I think everyone listening to this could really learn quite a lot from watching Steph's journey and the way she's approaching it, because I think there can be a lot said for that. And it really is just further evidence of a champion mindset. So, I think if you're not already, get across, watch what she's doing. You'll see the crazy woman walking into the gym and doing all sorts of out of her moon boot. And I laugh, but at the same time as I'm laughing away, but that's something I would do. So
I'm not holding back. We're doing what we can. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling positive. I'll be out next week. Yeah,
Very good.
you know what I mean? And then I'll, obviously be 100% back, by that month, from when obviously I saw the reaction come up. So I appreciate obviously so many sweet messages, so much support from the whole journey. I honestly didn't like people feeling sorry for me. It was like a weird feeling from stop, I'm fine. I'm like, I'm okay. It's not a broken foot. That's all I'm thankful for. So please, I'll be good. So I do appreciate that. It's just so sweet to know that so many of you guys are so worried about my foot. It's all good. We are getting through it. You're gonna learn some stuff. If you have an injury, if you specifically have a foot injury, you're gonna really learn from my prep. But if you have even a somewhat of a knee or back injury, some of this is gonna be really relative to what I will be doing. So you can tune in, to that new YouTube channel that I'll be hopefully releasing a lot more stuff faster and faster as we go. Now that I'm back home, back from the show, I'm getting back settled in and my foot is healing up. All that travel did not help my foot healing. So now I feel like things are going to look so much more upright now that I'm actually sedative and I'm actually here in a chair. I'm not moving. So
I love it. I love it. Well, everyone, I hope you really enjoyed today's episode. And if you have any questions for us, or you'd like to share even maybe some of your own experiences with, halfway through prep.
Any tips are always welcome. Yes.
We always
any of you guys, I've actually got some good ones, sent to IG. So if you guys are, have some good tips, while healing process, I'm stacking up on some of my supplements, obviously my foods, my therapy. So if there is any extra tips, it's always welcome. We appreciate all of you guys. And until next, y'all.
Yeah. Have a good week.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Queen Divas Pod, on Twitter at Queen Divas 4, and follow our hosts on Instagram, Alicia at Alicia Gowans _ WBFF Pro, and Steph at Stephanie Ayala 7. See you all next week.